Today's passage is Romans chapter 8, verses 18 to 30. The Spirit intercedes for us with sighs too deep for words. This is one of Paul's great visionary passages, a sweep of vision over the whole of creation, not just the human species, a vision of salvation, health, wholeness for the whole created world. It's a great passage to meditate on during the coronavirus, as at any time of suffering or trouble. He speaks of groaning in pain like a woman in labour. As we've seen the daily figures of infection and deaths, mercifully now reducing, at least in our part of the world, we have groaned in dismay and in horror as we gradually realise the far-reaching effects of the lockdown on our lives, on jobs and incomes, on the economy, on crime, on so many more aspects of our lives than we might have imagined. We have groaned inwardly, waiting for hope. Paul says hope that is seen is not hope. Self-evident, but still worth stating to remind us. Of course things are not right. Of course there is a long way to go. Of course there is so much wrong in the world. We do not have fulfilment, but we do have hope. We always have hope because of the victory, the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. We wait, Paul says, in patience. Paul himself would have struggled with that patience just as much as you and I. He doesn't seem to have been a patient man by nature. And he answers the question that's often on our lips in the midst of a disaster. Where is God in all this? The answer? Interceding, groaning with us, hurting with us. When we have no words left, when we're at the end of our tether and our resources, when all we can do is groan, the Spirit intercedes for us with sighs too deep for words. God weeps with us, as Jesus did at the tomb of Lazarus. I recently read a book by Tom Wright, eminent New Testament scholar and brilliant communicator, called God and the Pandemic. I commend it to you. It's very readable, full of good common sense, and really helpful in terms of coming to a biblical understanding of what is happening. He makes this point about the Spirit interceding very powerfully. And he points out that the right question when disaster strikes is not, why is this happening, but what can we do about it? Who can we help? Who can we send? In Romans 8, Paul says, "In all things God works for good with those who love him." With those who love him is the correct translation, not for them. Tom Wright says, God works with and through those who love him to bring all things to a good end. And he goes on, the Spirit was given us so that we could be God's eyes and ears, his hands and feet, to do whatever is needed in the world. When Paul says God works with us, he's using the same word as he uses for his own fellow workers, his own team. We are the team. God has recruited us to his team. There is work to do, great work of prayer and of action.